As fuel prices rise, how do shippers respond? Which truck stops are best for women drivers? And changing shopping patterns. Pull up a chair and join us as the editors of DC Velocity discuss these stories as well as news and supply chain trends on this week's Logistics Matters podcast. Hi, I'm Dave Maloney. I'm the Group Editorial Director at DC Velocity. Welcome. Logistics Matters is sponsored by Werner. In cross-border shipping, experience is everything. With more than 25 years of trusted expertise in Mexico, Werner moves your freight seamlessly across the border. Their bilingual teams handle the customs and compliance, so you don't have to. Get the reliability your supply chain deserves. Become a customer today at choosewerner.com. As usual, our DC Velocity senior editors Ben Ames and Victoria Kickham will be along to provide their insights into the top stories of this week. But to begin today, as the war against Iran continues, fuel prices also continue to rise, and it's getting to the point where carriers can no longer just simply absorb those costs. So, how have those unexpected costs affected supply chain companies? To get the latest on how companies are coping and trying to adjust to this latest uncertainty, here is Ben Ames with today's guest. Ben?
Thanks, Dave. The U.S. war with Iran started 7 weeks ago now. And aside from the human cost, we've seen impacts on global trade flows from the very beginning. At first, that affected the ships and the airplanes that simply avoided the region, and then it spread to a growing number of shipments that were rerouted to safer roads and sites. But in recent weeks, we've also seen disruptions in shipping routes like the Strait of Hormuz, of course, which has squeezed global oil deliveries, and then sent the cost of diesel and gasoline soaring all around the world. Today, we're going to talk about what that means for retail brands and the parcel carriers they use to deliver their products, which, of course, rely heavily on that fuel to operate their trucks and planes and other vehicles. Here with us to dig into this topic is our guest this week, Helaine Rich. She is Vice President of Strategic Sales and Administration at ePost Global. Welcome, Helaine.
Thank you.
Helaine, first of all, just to kick us off, could you briefly tell us about ePost Global and sort of what the company's role is in this discussion today?
ePost Global is a small parcel global courier service. So we ship parcels worldwide and are directly impacted by the changing routes and the changing fuel costs, et cetera, and how customers are preparing and planning to address these situations.
Gotcha. So you're really knee-deep in this stuff, it sounds like.
Daily.
So, yeah. So where are fuel costs hitting parcel networks the most right now?
Well, again, we're actually seeing the biggest hit on the kerosene fuel side, which is what we utilize as the factor on how we're consuming that cost, but we're seeing it primarily from uplift is going to be the highest. And then also we do offer USPS services, which I think you might have seen are having a significant increase. First time that I ever recall them rolling out something like this that will go into effect on Monday. And they're holding that through till January of 2027. So the thing is, it's a very moving target in regards to what the current fuel costs are, how that's affecting things. But then when you see some people in the market, like the USPS, rolling something out that they're committing to for the rest of the year, it's definitely makes you have to review what is the best options to provide the best service at the most cost-effective pricing.
For sure. And of course, that this hits, good consumers in the pocket eventually, and as well as the brands that are sending them the goods. How are carriers adjusting surcharges, routes, and delivery models to cope with that?
Right. So one thing in regards to, not to spend a lot of time on the USPS situation, but with the USPS situation where that is a domestic, what we've seen is that the USPS has really had a stronghold on the small parcel with their competitive pricing. But now with this 8% increase, it's really opening up the door for alternative final mile carriers in the US market. we operate a multi-carrier type of network, so we can automatically absorb some of those increase by looking at what's a more cost-effective way. And that's what we're speaking to our customers about as well. The one thing that is also happening right now is with the fuel surcharge and those different costs that are affecting the merchants is also with what's going on in the tariffs. So it's really timing wise. Merchants really need to look at what is the best way for them to do business. Is this something that they look for a different method, or is it something that they pass through to the consumer? And how much can they absorb? The carriers themselves, some of them are definitely taking advantage of doing some potential margin improvement with this. And others are just trying to control the costs, look at the alternatives. You mentioned earlier, in regards to the Iran war, obviously some of those areas are moving to ground network as opposed to air because of uplift capacity, et cetera. So there's not only who you're using, but how you're shipping, where you're shipping from, and how you're going to be able to absorb that. I've also seen that companies that historically utilize a rate shopper and do pricing on checkout are adding these additional costs to that part of their system so that it is a direct pass through to the buyer and they can maintain their margins while it being hit by those fees.
Gotcha. And just to sort of define terms here, you've mentioned a couple times uplift capacity. Is that a reference to air freight? Could you just so I know what we're talking about?
Yes, yes. So uplift capacity where certain flights are canceled because of the situation in that particular region. There might not be the availability. Then also there might be a reduction in flights because they want to be more full on the flights so that they can maximize the capacity and reduce the cost and not have half full flights moving.
Of course. Thank you. And so, of course, a lot of this delivery is multimodal, so that there might be air, there might be ground as well. Looking at the ground side, what sort of impact are you seeing on last mile efficiency and rural delivery?
We actually are seeing that across the board. It's just very familiar in regards to the uplift, but final mile around the world, we're seeing it in Canada, for example, we're seeing it in all regions. Postal has been hesitant to roll that out. That's why, again, the USPS situation is pretty surprising and unique.
Understood. So, how about from the shipper's point of view? What does this mean as shippers are always trying to manage cost, but also service expectations?
Right. So shippers are obviously familiar with the fuel surcharges because they have become a reality across the board. But it's just, again, full transparency and how it's being calculated and how they can prepare for it. And that's what I was also saying, that some of them are rolling that into what their costs are to the buyer so that they can absorb it. And a lot of them don't have the ability to make these changes. And that's why they work with other companies that have that multi-carrier network so that they can count on someone like us to make that right decision for them to minimize the impact. Where if they're utilizing one carrier that only has that one network, then that's when they have to really evaluate and see who's going to be more competitive for them if it's a like to like type of service.
Gotcha. Thank you. Helaine, we really appreciate your coming on the show this week to talk through some of these complex issues.
I appreciate the opportunity. It's something that we have to look at every single day. So I'm sure it's very topical for every one of your listeners.
There's no doubt this touches all of us, whether it's business or personal. We always use Amazon so much. Thank you for being on so much. Our guest this week has been Helaine Rich from ePost Global. Back to you, Dave.
Thank you, Helaine and Ben. Now let's take a look at some of the other supply chain news from the week. Each year, the number of women taking the wheel is rising. Right now, women make up about 9.5% of truck drivers, according to the Women in Trucking organization. And Victoria, as women continue to impact our industry, truck stops are looking to make life on the road better for these women drivers.
Yes, that's right. And actually, the industry as a whole is trying to make things better for women on the road. The American Trucking Association's Women in Motion Council and the technology company Trucker Path, which develops apps for the trucking industry, have identified the top 3 women-friendly truck stops in the United States. They announced the rankings this week. The top facilities meet key criteria established by the Women in Motion Council, and they scored the highest ratings among women drivers using the Trucker Path app. Now, all of this is important because women truck drivers have been saying for a long time that they need easier access to female-friendly truck stops. And these are places that provide a higher level of safety and security in general.
So, Victoria, the suspense is killing me. First, what's the criteria for it, and where are these 3 top truck stops for women?
Yes, absolutely. So the criteria are based on input directly from the women who are doing the job every day. And there are 7 criteria, and lighting is a huge issue. The first is lighted parking, lighted bathroom access, lighted lounge areas, lighted shower areas, lighted laundry facilities. And the other 2 are 24/7 maintenance and on-site security. Essentially, women want places where they can safely stop and rest while they're on the road. And to answer the second part of your question, the top 3 women-friendly truck stops are Compass Travel Center in DeMotte, Indiana, Garden Inn Truck Plaza in Mound City, Missouri, and Talent Truck Stop in Talent, Oregon. I should also note that the partnership between Women in Motion and Trucker Path began in 2023, and since then, more than 12,000 truck stops have added information indicating the availability of at least one of the 7 amenities I mentioned, and nearly 250 now offer all 7, according to both of these groups.
Well, Victoria, those all sound like some good moves, and hopefully more truck stops will make the changes necessary to make them more women driver friendly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Victoria.
You're welcome.
And Ben, it seems consumers never stay in one place for long, as you reported this week on some new trends in consumer shopping habits.
Yeah, it's true. And of course, this has something to do with the changes in the ways that we shop. That has progressed over the years from catalogs to telephones to web pages. So a consumer survey that we saw this week underlined how tough it is for retailers to handle all those transitions because it makes it harder to know where your next order is coming from. So this survey came from O9 Solutions, their software, enterprise software vendor. And they found that only 12% of Gen Z and only 9% of millennials plan to shop entirely online this summer. So they'll do some online, but that small percentage are the only ones who will do it completely online. That makes the rest of the shoppers omnichannel, meaning that 69% of Americans are planning to shop both in store and online. And the researchers said that those results show that particularly young adults are returning to malls for socializing or fashion discovery, shopping, I guess you'd call that, content creation. But they said it could serve as kind of a digital detox from constant phone use.
Well, that makes some sense, and I can understand the impulse to want to shop in person. But how does that affect the way logistics companies operate if you have both a higher amount of in shopping in store and online?
Yeah, the trend does put pressure on retailers to improve their performance in how they manage retail inventory and upstream of that, supply chain agility. According to O9, their president, Igor Ricolo, he pointed out that trends can spike overnight, especially with younger consumers. So tighter demand sensing and rapid scenario planning give brands the ability to rebalance inventory quickly and protect loyalty, which means otherwise the shoppers might get what they want somewhere else. He said retailers will need to track swift changes in inventory due to uncertainty also in the global supply chain flows that we've been seeing, including those triggered by the current war against Iran by the US and Israel, those shipping disruptions that are impacting really items across the catalog of things that you can buy at the mall, food, beverage, clothing, the rest of it. And Ricolo from O9 Solutions said that the survey underscores that omnichannel shopping and rapidly evolving younger-driven demand are raising expectations for that inventory planning.
Yes, it does seem like just a couple of years ago, we're talking about malls being dead and how everyone would be shopping online. Now we're seeing opposing trends, which I guess just underscores the need for supply chains to be flexible to meet these changing demands.
That's exactly right. Flexibility seems to be the best play to get through this.
Right. Great agility. Thank you, Ben.
Glad to.
We encourage listeners to go to dcvelocity.com for more on these and other supply chain stories. Also, check out the podcast notes section for some direct links to read more about the topics that we discussed today. And we'd like to thank Helaine Rich of ePost Global for being our guest. We welcome your comments on this topic and our other stories. You can email us at podcast@agilebme.com. We also encourage you to subscribe to Logistics Matters at your favorite podcast platform. Our new episodes are uploaded on Fridays. And a reminder, Logistics Matters is sponsored by Werner. In cross-border shipping, experience is everything. With more than 25 years of trusted expertise in Mexico, Werner moves your freight seamlessly across the border. Their bilingual teams handle the customs and compliance, so you don't have to. Get the reliability your supply chain deserves. Become a customer today at choosewerner.com. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Logistics Matters. Be sure to join us. Until then, have a great week.